It is a 40th anniversary year.
Mm-hmm.
How much, as a director, would you be willing to go out on publicity stuff?
I'm totally willing to do that. I've assisted a lot previously with publicity. I mean, I've sort of waved my arms about high school publicity for the last several years, and we did some really nice work with that, I think, 2 years ago and last year with Much Ado and with Richard.
We're going further this year.
We're going further.
Excellent. Okay. I've written letters often that we've sent out for high school publicity. Certainly assisted with other things there. My job the last 2 years, I'm in a new position this year, for those I haven't mentioned this to. I'm teaching 4th through 6th grade this year. Oh my God. But for the last 2 years, I've been basically the public relations director, communications coordinator for the school where I work. You're looking at me as if I'm crazy. I am.
Wait, 4th through 6?
Yeah, it's a Montessori school. We do multi-age classrooms.
Okay.
We have 4th through 6th graders all together in one classroom. It's nice. They don't kill each other. And
Really?
The 6th graders are really good at saying, yo, 4th graders, straighten up, fly right. They don't say that, but you get the idea.
They hold a 2x4 and say, I'm smiling.
Oh, I love, you ask a 4th grader, what did you get done this morning, Braden? I did about a page of math, and I worked on that handout you gave. Hey, Braden, come here. Talk to 6th grader. What did you get done this morning? Oh, I did. Braden, so it's good to have object lessons there. But I've done a lot of publicity things. I'm happy to go out and speak to people if there are things that need to be written.
Yeah.
If you want to sort of be flexible in setting up cool kind of, publicity pictures early on, whatever. That's important, and I'm willing to make room in the rehearsal schedule to account for it.
Okay.
And on that note, availability, are you always free?
I am almost always free.
You don't have any.
I have occasional evening conflicts, probably no more than, say, one evening every 3-4 weeks, where I may have an evening event at the school, for example. People who worked with me know my tactic is to generate a master rehearsal schedule at the beginning of the production that basically tells you everywhere you're going to have to be for the entire 6 weeks. I beat people up who then say, oh, I didn't tell you I was going out of town that weekend. Yeah, it's happened.
Yes, I remember.
Yes. But to me, your time's valuable, and you're way busy, we're students. You can plan your lives better, and I can plan much better if we get the whole thing set up at the beginning. So tell me all your conflicts, all of them. I do the nasty work over a weekend of sitting down, laying the whole thing out, figuring out, okay, this scene always has to happen on Thursdays, this happens on a Tuesday or Wednesday,
Okay.
and we do the whole thing. And that way my availability works in hopefully to the I'm going to San Antonio with some students. I would miss a Thursday night near the end of the rehearsal process. I think it's like the first week in March, something like that. I can look it up if you like. It works fine. I went out. I had to.
Yeah.
Once when I was doing Midsummer Night's Dream with middle school, we were out at a farm in Hempstead, and I wouldn't have drive in every night from Hempstead for rehearsals, but we did 3 rehearsals over that week instead of 5, and actually it worked great because people had to finally get their lines memorized. Did so.
Yeah. I think what we're planning this year is not running into 2 weekends right after spring break, but postponing it a week. So giving an extra week of tech.
Good. And actually, that works perfectly with my schedule because that Thursday that's right. The Thursday I mentioned that I'd be out.
That's spring break, isn't it?
If we did our normal schedule, that'd be opening night. Which I've had directors who were gone on opening night, but it's much more fun to be there.
Yeah.
So in this case, that's nice, and the show opens during my spring break, which is a real lifesaver as a director because it means I'm not working during the day. I can stay here till 2 in the morning, making sure the lights get focused and everything gets worked out and the props are all there and yada yada, and I can just sleep till noon the next day and nobody's going to call
That's not fair. We can't sit till here.
Okay.
I've been done everything in the Buckeye. That's going to take 12 hours.
Are there any more questions about Tempest or technical story, etc.?
Any ideas?
It'd be nice to have a composer for some music stuff, and I see we've got one. So
She's not a composer.
Okay.
She just plays.
Okay, well, I'd love to have some live music. I think it adds a lot, and you can get some of that done by the spirits. You know, there are instruments that require hardly any skill to play. Nose flutes, you know, works nicely.
If we decide to do live music,
Mhm.
can we decide upon that and start working on that in the fall as opposed to in the spring?
Yes, we
if
could.
if we need a composer,
Mhm.
we should have that composer at the beginning of December,
Mhm.
not at the beginning of January.
Mhm. And it should tie in to some extent with decisions about period, for example. If you're going to do modern dress, it needs to be a bit different from, you know, period dress. There are, you know, several songs Ariel sings. Brief, but, you know, Come Unto These Yellow Sands, Full Fathom 5, My Father Lies. You know, there are songs in there. And yes, better to start on those earlier rather than later.
And if we can't find a composer, are you willing to?
Can music.
Yeah.
Not like can it as in toss it away, but can it as in like record it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bottle.
Okay.
Some people think you can't get a composer.
We've gotten it before.
No, I think you can't get a composer. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, that's a different issue. Any more questions about Tempest, or do we want to move on to a quick measure for measure pitch? If that is what you're doing next.
People were interested last year. I am primarily interested in Tempest, both because it's what seized my attention and because I can invite my students to it. I'm not going to let elementary students anywhere near measure for measure.
Pole dancing nuns!
I'll be honest, as much as I have liked the measure for measure pitch in the past, my personal preference is just to go home.
Says the person who's got to write paper.
Yeah, says another person who has to write.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I brought in measure just because it had some interest last year, and I know it's on the on the sort of short list. My primary interest this year is in Tempest.
Okay.
That said, if you ask me to do measure, you know, it's a fun play. I have some, you know, fun stuff in mind. I'd be happy to do it. I'm going to ban my elementary students from seeing it, and I'll just invite, you know, colleagues from work.
Okay.
We got some good money out of a couple of plays, actually. With my school has wealthy parents, and they like to buy Bart's couches. So
Yes, they
I always
do.
feel good for kind of helping with, you know, ticket budget with that.
Yes, they do.
It's good to work at a school where there are rich children.
I tell you, yes. So I'll talk measure if you like. I'll leave it with you guys to look at, so you too can enjoy the joys of the pole dancing nun.
Is there anything that's not written down on this page that you would like to mention that we
Have we
can
done it?
put?
In a world already rife with hypocritical Angelos, Larry Craig, Ted Haggerty, you need to add Ted Stevens to that.
Yeah, well,
Oh, look at it.
he hasn't had any sex excitement, has he?
Yeah, no, not in like 40 years.
The rest of humanity.
Sorry.
But just real quick, is there anything on your measure pitch that you would like to mention and have taken into account? Because if you don't want to like do a spiel tonight, which personally I kind of have homework, but
Pretty much the major points are all there. Forgive me for not changing the date on there, but
it's
you know,
okay.
you've got it there for measure. And if you like measure, go for it. But I am happy to leave you with mainly thinking about Tempest.
Okay.
You know, I can talk about verse work or whatever, but again, I think I'm talking to you guys who I've worked with, and
Yeah.
you'll tell people who are watching there, you know, anything they need to know about me. Hi there. You know, ask them about me. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? No?
I think we're good.
I think we're good. Okay. I need to ask you something that has nothing to do with your pitch.
Okay.
I need a list of people.
I'll listen to people.